The first official weekend of conference play gave us upsets, down to the wire finishes, and instant classics. You really can't ask for anything more. Welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football.
3, 2, 1, go!
Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. It was a historic night for Montana's offense, totaling over 700 yards in their first ever Inferno win. They return home this weekend to host Weber State for the first time since 2019. Both teams are unbeaten in Big Sky play, and that matchup is our game of the week. Joining me now is head coach of the Grizz, Bobby Hauck. Coach Hauck, thanks so much for joining me. Your offense had a historic night last weekend in their first win in the Inferno, totaled over 700 yards. What do you think clicked for the Grizz offensively in that game?
Well, it always starts up front, and we were able to run the ball pretty successfully, so that opened everything up. And we had things going our way, and we had the Eagles down significantly through the game, and good by them. They just kept fighting back, and they didn't let us finish them off till the very end.
Logan Fife got his first official start at quarterback in that game. How have you seen him develop since week 1 to now?
Well, Logan, like a lot of guys that are new, you see young guys, but there's a lot of new guys in college football programs. And the more they practice, the more familiar they are with the scheme and whatever phase they're playing in, the faster, more efficiently they can play. And he just keeps growing. He did a nice job. He had not started a game yet until last week, and he really came through in a big way for our team.
Looking ahead to this week's matchup with Weber State, how does having players like Eli Gilman and Nick Osmo help you prepare for one of the best running backs in the country in Damon Bankston on the Wildcats?
Well, anytime you've got good players, it makes you a better coach. And usually the best coaches have the best players. We are well aware of that young fellow from Weber State. Brett Myers just has always been a great coach. He does just a terrific job with their offensive line and their run game. So they're going to be hard to handle, and I hope we are too.
Kamari Mugne-Bailey leads Weber State in tackles, sacks, tackles for loss. How does your O-line prepare to block a defensive player like that?
Well, and anytime you're running an offensive play, your scheme accounts for the plays on the defensive side in some form or fashion. So, whether it's point protections towards him or run game to or away, you just have to be aware of where that kid is, because he makes a lot of plays.
Coach, this will be the first time Mickey Mental heads to Wa-Grizz. It's also the first time anyone on that Weber State roster will be playing up in Missoula. What type of advantage does home field give you guys with that atmosphere?
Well, that's interesting. That'd be something I hadn't really thought about much this week. I hope Coach Mental doesn't come out of here with his first win, but they're certainly going to try. And they're very capable of beating us, certainly. We have one of the things that's really interesting, Meg, is this is one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. And what goes unrecognized is that the guys on the other sideline, they love playing here too. It's not just our guys. So we tend to get a great effort, and the other team tends to really look forward to coming here and playing us. So we tend to get an inspired effort out of the other team because it's such a great place to play.
Up next, hear from head coach of the Weber State Wildcats, Mickey Mental. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by the head coach of Weber State, Mickey Mental. Coach, this will be your first time facing Montana as head coach of Weber State, the first time in Missoula since 2019. What have you heard about the environment in Washington Grizzly Stadium?
I heard second to none. Obviously, a fantastic atmosphere to play for our guys. It's always filled, and they're loud, and they do a tremendous job making an advantage when they play up there.
It's also going to be the first time for most of your roster, if not all of your roster, playing in Washington Grizzly. How do you prepare your guys for a hostile environment like the one you'll see in Missoula?
I think you obviously put some practice noise in during practice to help that situation, but I think it always goes back to what your standards are and your routine and how you practice, and making sure you're prepared so all the noise is just blocked out and you can just play at a high level.
One of your guys that has been playing at a very high level is, of course, Kamari Munye-Bailey. He leads the team in solo tackles, tackles for a loss, and sacks. What has he brought to your defense this season?
Just the ability to win a one-on-one pass rush and get home with 4, and then you can play with coverage obviously behind it. Very explosive guy. His personality is awesome. He's one of the guys on the team that you enjoy being around just because he loves football and he loves being around the rest of his teammates, and what he does on the field stems from how he prepares and how he practices at a high level.
For Montana, Logan Fife got his first start last week, threw for 5 touchdowns. They totaled over 700 yards of offense in that win. How do you slow down the Grizz attack?
Obviously, they're really talented. Coach Houck and the rest of his staff put their players in really good positions to be successful. I think it's winning first down, and putting them in bad down and distance situations so we can get them as one-dimensional as possible. You got to tackle at a high level. And then you just got to play complementary football offensively, special teams to obviously make the field as long to drive as possible.
Running back Damon Bankston has surpassed 100 yards on the ground in 3 different games this year. Of course, Montana has that run-heavy offense. How does having a player like Bankston help your defense prepare for the attack that they will see on Saturday?
It obviously, you try to get more guys in the box, and then it allows you to get one-on-one matchups on the outside in the throw game. So they're a lot more basic as possible. What they do defensively with the multiple fronts, stunts, and blitzes. You got to be sound in the run game and in the pass game so you can account for all the hats in the box. So it'll be exciting. I know we're looking forward to obviously going up to Missoula.
Receiver Jacob Sharp has big playability, and we've seen Richie Munoz get more comfortable under center. How does that combo's deep threat potential hopefully keep Montana's defense on their toes?
It's almost vice versa, try to keep guys out of the box to allow Damon and the rest of the running backs to be successful. So for us, it's all about numbers and space and taking advantage of where they're light. But we also have to execute at a high level, and when their numbers called, make the big time play.
9 tackles, a pair of sacks, and a forced fumble earned NAU's Alex McLaughlin Defensive Player of the Week honors. I sit down with him next. Alex McLaughlin had 9 tackles, 4 solo, a pair of sacks, and a forced fumble in NAU's upset win over Sacramento State, earning him Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week honors. What people might not know is that you had your wisdom teeth taken out last Monday. How were you able to practice and play after the surgery?
I didn't practice till Thursday, so Coach Wright gave me Tuesday, Wednesday to heal up a little bit. And I mean, it was kind of just, you kind of have to do what you have to do it's a big game, first conference game. I didn't want to miss it. They didn't force me to play or anything. It was just on me, and I told them I wanted to play, and our training staff did their very best to prepare me to play.
Last season, you broke your arm, only missed 1 game due to that. Played less than a week after getting your wisdom teeth out. You've started and played in every game you've been eligible to play. Where does this toughness come from?
It's kind of just like how I was brought up. I mean, I got 2 older brothers, and then my dad's a big sports guy, so he always just preached, if you can play through it, play through it. But, if you can't, then you can sit. So I always was just taught, if you can play through it, just play through.
2 older brothers. One, of course, is on the NAU basketball team. The other is in the Detroit Tigers organization for baseball. How would you describe your competitiveness with your brothers?
I mean, growing up, it's especially being the youngest, I definitely got picked on because I'm just not bigger than them. And they just, we all play different sports. So we all think because I always talk to Trent, the one that plays basketball here, that oh, I'm a better shooter than you. And we just same with my older brother, he plays baseball. We're just all try to be better at the sports we don't even play. So it's just like kind of just it's jokes, but at the end of the day, it's really not. It's fun, but growing up like that, it definitely makes you ready for college.
How do they make you a better athlete, that competitiveness between you all?
Definitely just pushing me and like helping me reach my potential, and like because they've done it before. They're in college before me and they've been through it all. They definitely gave me some tips and pointers on how to play early as a freshman and maintain that.
Bringing it back to NAU football, your defense held the Hornets to 51 net rushing yards last weekend in that upset win. Why were you all so effective against their run game?
I mean, all week we specified how good of a running back they had. I think he had 100 yards in every game he played in so far. So we were definitely, in the week before, we got hit on the run a lot. So, and we just, Coach Clark, our defense coordinator, kind of just made it a point of emphasis that we got to stop the run. And we have, I think we have the best linebacker room in the Big Sky, and they came out big for us.
NAU is ranked in the Stats Perform FCS Top 25 for the first time since 2018. What has Coach Wright brought to this program in his 1 year at the helm?
I mean, Coach Wright, he's just everywhere he's been at, he wins. So I think we all took that into account when he got here, that he's a winner, and he wasn't going to be like, oh, new coaching staff, new year, well, we could have a down year. He was never like that. He's like, he made it clear that we're here to win and we're here to win now. I think he just brings he's really connection with his players, and then he's all about the players, and he brought in a great staff to help us prepare.
Coming up, Hunter and Molly Hayes have a sibling bond like no other.
If you had to pick the hardest or the worst part of having your sibling on campus with you, what would that be?
For me, it's like the fact that she's my little sister. You know, I have like teammates come and be like, hey, like, you know, your sister's kind of cute. And I'm like, okay, I don't like that at all. You know, like I feel like I have to be more of like a dad than a big brother sometimes. And that's probably the worst part.
I would say, yeah, that was probably, I feel like I'm not totally without parents, you know?
Hunter and Molly Hayes didn't go to high school together. So when Molly received an opportunity to come play for Idaho State, she knew she had to take it. The sibling student athletes only have 1 year together here in Pocatello, and they're making the most of it. How would you describe your relationship with your sister Molly?
I feel like a lot of siblings fight a lot, but I think me and Molly have always been really close our whole life. We have a third sister, and that was always the one that we clashed with more, but me and Molly kind of teamed up all growing up. It's kind of used to be those two against me when we play like basketball and stuff in the front yard, but now it's actually turned into me and Grace.
I give him a lot of the credit for any success I've ever had, because I had to figure out how to play against him, and that helped, I guess, a little bit.
How competitive are you guys when you're playing a game of basketball or whatever sport with your siblings?
Normally it comes to blows, like it's always...
I think there's been quite a few tears, and...
I know there's a lot of times in the front yard where I'd be like, don't cry, Molly, don't cry. You're okay, you're okay. After I fouled her a little too hard.
Yeah.
You know, it was,
because, you know, like I'd talk crap, or if I get like a layup off him or like something, I'd talk a little bit of crap, and then
and then I'd try to check her, and it would, there was,
it didn't end up well.
Competitive, yeah.
4-sport athlete, 3-sport athlete. Who do you think is the better athlete between the two of you?
I mean, I'm gonna say me.
I know, I'm like, me, but I feel like we are so different.
Yeah, for sure.
That...
And I feel like Molly's more of the, like, grind it out. Like, Molly's the one that growing up would be in the driveway for 4 hours a day doing dribbling drills. And, like, I feel like I had more of the, like, just the natural. Like, if we go play spike ball, Molly's gonna work on it and maybe be better in the long run, but day one, I could just figure out how to do it a little better. The best athlete in our family, without a doubt, is Grace. It's
definitely little sister.
We're gonna go down a little list. Of the two of you, who would be the better singer?
Definitely him. I am absolutely terrible. I'm terrible.
Yeah, I'm not very good either, but Grace is really good.
Grace is the best singer.
Yeah.
Better dancer?
I have zero rhythm. Hunter, you are a good dancer.
Yeah, my mom would say it's me.
Hunter,
my dad would probably say it's Molly.
Who's the cleaner of the two of
Oh,
you?
definitely him.
100%.
100%.
I'm a little OCD, so my
crazy
closet is always like color coordinated. Like everything is like neat and tidy all the time.
I'm the worst of us three too. Like I'm really messy, which I'm getting better though. Like my dorm room right now is like spotless, but I cleaned it yesterday, so that's
Who is more forgetful?
She's really thoughtful. Like if it's like someone's birthday, she never forgets to call you or whatever. She's always texting me like, "Hey, it's Dad's birthday. Don't forget." And like, I am not as good at that. But Molly's more likely to be the one that left her jersey at home.
Yes.
We got to drive back 3 hours.
That's me.
Yeah.
What's it been like soaking in this experience of being here together as student athletes and siblings?
Awesome. I can't wait to tell like my future kids, if I'm lucky enough to have them, like, oh, you know, it was awesome. We got to play with, you know, your Aunt Molly, and it's just such a unique experience. I don't think a lot of siblings get to go through this.
I've never been around anybody that's been like as close as like our siblings are. And so like I think it's really cool that we're like, oh, we got to go to school together and like play sports and like go to everything and like do all of that and experience those things together. Just taking like every second and like, really enjoying it.
Coming up, former Montana wide receiver Sammy Akim joins the show with his game picks. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. Several teams are off to a hot start in conference play. Here's what's happening around the Big Sky in Olympic sports.
Idaho State Volleyball was named the Commissioner's Team of the Month for September. The Bengals are off to the program's best start since 1987, led by Marcy Bell, who has been named Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week twice this season. Montana Soccer kicked off their Big Sky season keeping their perfect home record intact, with a 2-0 win over Northern Arizona. And Idaho, the defending Big Sky soccer champ, is also off to an undefeated start in conference play after beating both Sac State and Portland State over the weekend. In cross country, the Montana State men's team had a nice showing at the Nuttycombe, Wisconsin Invite in Madison. And both the NAU men's and women's teams took first place in the Dave Murray Invitational. Both teams had 6 of the 7 top finishers. Finally, in golf, Sacramento State's Caitlin Maurice and Montana State's Lauren Greeny both broke school records. Maurice opened her season by becoming the first Sac State woman to shoot 65, while Greeny's round of 6 under par 66 was the 18-hole best round in the history of Bobcat golf. That's what happened this week around the Big Sky.
With me now is former Montana wide receiver, now working for Skyline Sports, Sammy Akim. Sammy, I had so much fun with you the first time. We decided let's have you back again to talk Big Sky football and pick some games. First of all, conference play officially kicked off last week. And what was your overall assessment of what you saw across the Big Sky?
I think the Big Sky Conference is in a good place. I think they're looking really strong. Having 6 teams in the top 25 looks really, really good. I can't wait for the next couple of weeks. I mean, this week we got Northern Arizona, Idaho. That's going to be a really awesome game.
What are some of the games besides the brawl, of course, on the Big Sky schedule moving forward that you are most excited for?
Anybody Northern Arizona plays is going to be a good game. If I had to pick 2, it'd be UC Davis coming to Montana and then Idaho playing against Montana State. I still think that's going to be a really, really good game.
Sammy, we have some good matchups this week, starting with UC Davis versus Portland State. UC Davis coming off their first ever win against a top 5 team. They jumped to number 9 in the Stats Perform FCS top 25. Portland State, on the other hand, looking for their first win of the season. Who you taking in this matchup?
Taking UC Davis. I do understand that UC Davis has got a big win at home against Idaho. And sometimes there could be some big win hangover from a game like that, but I expect them to take care of business. I suspect they'll probably be 3 to 4 score favorites in that game, and I think they should really cover that.
NAU with that massive upset over Sacramento State last weekend. They are now 25th in the Stats Perform FCS top 25, the first time the Lumberjacks are ranked since 2018. They're playing Idaho heading up to the Kibby Dome. Who you picking?
As we know, Idaho has been really strong defensively this year. But NAU, man, if you watch that Sac State game back, they had a ton of pressure on Carson Conklin the whole game. They were playing at a high level. Their defense was flying around. I mentioned the sack fumble from Alex McLaughlin. Like, they played a shutout game, but I'll pick NAU in that game.
Finally, our game of the week, Weber State at Montana. Weber State heads to Montana for the first time since 2019. So this will be the first time at Washington Grizzlies Stadium for head coach Mickey Mental and the entire Weber State roster. Montana fresh off their first ever Inferno win. Sammy, I don't even know if I have to ask, but as a formality, I'm going to. Who are you taking in this matchup?
I suspect the crowd is going to be rocking against Weber State on Saturday. I suspect it's going to be a vicious environment for Weber State to walk into. Montana does not lose a lot in Washington Grizzly Stadium. It's the best environment in the Big Sky Conference, one of the best environments in FCS football. You can't beat it there. So I'm going to pick Montana to beat Weber State.
Sammy, thank you. This weekend will be my first trip ever to Washington Grizzly Stadium. I'm so excited for the atmosphere, and I appreciate you joining me and for all of your insight. Cannot wait for my first trip to Washington Grizzly Stadium this weekend. Excited to see what that atmosphere is all about. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. I will see you all next week.